even once I kind of had the idea and I'd been experimenting, I was still like scared to death because I was like, also, I was partly embarrassed too. I was like, even though it wasn't my fault that a pandemic happened, I was like, wow, I just lost this amazing job. And you know what I mean? And now people are going to be like, oh, she's just starting, like you were saying, we say a little business or a little something.
Welcome back. I am so excited for the episode today. I have one of my friends from college and someone I'm super excited to introduce to everyone. Her name is Allie, and she is the amazing person that actually made the outfit I posted about, was it last week? I think it was last week, with the tie-dye sports bra and shorts and t-shirt, and I'm just super excited to welcome her because she has started her own passion project, side hustle. I don't know what we want to call it, but I'm really, really excited for her to be here and kind of share a little bit about her story with everyone today. So welcome, Allie.
Hello, I'm Allie Dayton, and I started like Elena was saying, a little business side hustle called Allie D Dyes during the middle of a pandemic. So that's pretty
There you go. It's a good way
crazy.
to describe it during the middle of that. So a big thing that I have been thinking about lately is how sometimes we describe our jobs, our passions, our side hustles as like, oh, this tiny thing I'm doing, or, you know, this little business, this little job. And I do that with myself still. And I've been doing this for 3 years. And so I'll be like, oh, I have this little business that I do. And I'm like, you don't think about it when you're saying it because it's just like a word. But if you really stop and think like, well, why do I keep describing it as that? You know, it's like, this is something you're passionate about and something you really love. And so I just always I noticed it when you just said it because I've been making sure that I try to catch myself when I do it because I still do it 3 years later.
Right.
So it's so crazy how we try to like downplay. It's kind of what we were talking about before we started recording is we try to downplay our success or, you know, our journey. And so I'm really, really excited to have you here because I think what you're doing is great. I don't think it's a little thing. Exciting. So I would just love for you to share kind of your story, like where we went to college. You can share about what you studied if you want to, and then kind of just what led you into what you're doing now.
Yeah, so we actually went to Georgia College, and I always say, like, looking back when you're 18, it's like, how do you know what to choose to do with the rest of your life? So if you're still in college or about to go to college, don't feel like pressured. Okay, if I choose this major, if I don't choose this major, that's what I have to do. Because my major was actually special education, which is funny because what I ended up doing after college is completely different. And I'm really passionate about working with people with disabilities specifically. And I was like, okay, you know what, we'll try this out. And I loved my experience at Georgia College and getting to student teach for 2 years. And it was amazing, but I just knew that that wasn't what I wanted to do at this point in my life. Maybe one day, like when I have kids or family, that might be something that I would like to do still. But anyways, and so after college, I went and worked for a company in the revenue department, which is something completely different than what I studied. I just kind of wanted to see what it was like to be in an office space. And I did that for 6 months while I was also interviewing for what I thought my dream job was, which was to be a flight attendant for Delta Airlines. And that was a whole nother process in itself. I can even tell a little bit about that in terms that people are like, okay, you can apply for that, but you probably won't get it. Like, you have to have a ton of experience. And I was only 22, and I was like, okay, I probably won't get this. And just like kind of what you were talking about, we like to downplay ourselves and what our abilities are. And I was like, oh, there's no way I could even, make it past round one. And so, it was a long process applying for that. There was like 7 different rounds. And so I finally got accepted at the end of November. And so I quit my job and I went to training in February. It was in February. And training was really, really difficult. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to graduate. It's going to be great. I was actually supposed to move to New York, where I was going to be based out of. And so had everything lined up for that. I was super excited. And, I was like, okay, I'm 22. I'm going to go move to New York. I'm going to be a flight attendant, going to, go travel the world. And I was so excited. And then, the pandemic hit, and much like a lot of people our age, it kind of just turned everything upside down and completely just like lost that opportunity, lost that job a week and a half away from graduation from training, which was completely devastating. And I was back home, trying to figure out what's next, which is really scary and sad, honestly. It just kind of puts you in a place where you're like, what do I even do? And so I had this idea to figure out something I could do on the side. In the meantime, I've kind of trying to figure things out in terms of jobs. And I was like, okay, what's popular? I just did kind of some brainstorming for like a week or so. And I was like, okay, you know what? Tie-dye is really popular. And I've actually never even done tie-dye in my life, which is just funny. And also, like, going back to downplaying our own selves, I was always like, you know what? I'm not a creative person. I'm not the kind of person who also would start something. And so Lana and I were talking about this as well, but we're always like, oh, I'm scared what people are going to think of me. Like, oh, what is she trying to do? You know, trying to start her own business and whatnot. And after receiving a lot of like encouragement from friends and family, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And just ordered a bunch of supplies, did a bunch of trial and error. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I got an Etsy page and I created an Instagram and just started working and taking pictures and just kind of went from there.
I absolutely love that story. And I think what's so crazy is, I don't know if we've actually even talked about this, but I was supposed to move to New York in January for a sales position.
Really?
And I interviewed starting last fall for this amazing company, seriously, like the best of the best. And I would have been so happy. And so I was supposed to move there in January. And as it got closer, I was like, I'm not really sure if like I feel, called to do this anymore.
Right.
So I was a little different than you because you were super excited for your journey.
Right.
And of course, I wanted to live in New York because I lived there for 3 months a couple of years ago and I absolutely loved it. But as it kind of got closer, I was like, well, I'm not sure like that I really want this anymore. Like, I don't know. And then it was like coronavirus.
Yeah.
So that was the answer for me.
Right.
But that's so crazy because I had no idea that that's where you were going to be moving. So wow, that's crazy. But I love how you said that you had never done tie-dye. You had never had this dream and you always said, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. Exactly. And I think that that's so crazy too, because with what I do now with coaching and Beachbody, I've been doing for 3 years is literally based around workouts and nutrition. But in high school and in college, I was the least athletic of all my friends. Like if I worked out, I went to the gym and like ran the treadmill, but like, did I really run? Like probably no. I was the least athletic. And so now for me to have this business, I still have people from school that knew me growing up. And they're like, I never, honestly, no offense, never would have thought this would be you. I'm like, sure. But like, it's so crazy how we can have these talents, we can have these interests that we always say, well, I'm not creative and I'm not, but it's like compared to who,
Exactly. We just tell ourselves lies because like, I don't know, we put ourselves down so much. And things we would never say that to our best friend or even someone we probably didn't even like, we would never say that to.
Oh,
and we just like speak so negatively to ourselves and we prevent ourselves from living a life that we like never even dreamed about.
It's just so true. And from doing these things, that we could be called to do, we never take action because we're like, well, I'm not creative and I'm not talented or I'm not athletic or whatever it is. But then you said that you had a lot of support from your friends and family. So I want to hear a little bit more about that. But I think that you just said exactly what I was thinking was we would never tell our friend if our best friend said, I think I'm going to start an Etsy page, but I'm not really sure I'm creative, or I think I'm going to start, health and wellness coaching, but I have never, been athletic. And to them, we would be like, well, who says, you can so do that, but to ourselves, we're like, nope, it's not for me.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it was for me. And even once I kind of had the idea and I'd been experimenting, I was still like scared to death because I was like, also, I was partly embarrassed too. I was like, even though it wasn't my fault that a pandemic happened, I was like, wow, I just lost this amazing job. And you know what I mean? And now people are going to be like, oh, she's just starting, like you were saying, we say a little business or a little something. And we're just like worried about what other people think. And in reality, either they're not thinking that because they're thinking about their own selves and what other people think of them, or they're like, oh, that's amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure. And
so I think it also is going back to having that support from family and friends. It's so important who you surround yourself with. Obviously you can't choose your family, but, and I'm super lucky that I have a really supportive family, but, it's all about who you surround yourself with. You want to be around with people who are going to encourage you and speak life over you. And so I've been so thankful to have the support of family and friends. And even still, I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Or like, do you think this is a good idea? Just to bounce things off of, because like I am kind of doing it on my own. And so it's important to like have those people there for you.
Oh my goodness. I totally agree with you. And I think too, like you said, you can't choose your family. And I've also been blessed to have a supportive family, but
Right.
I've also encountered people, in my past and in my life, whether it's friends or acquaintances or, people I used to know
Right.
or used to talk to or grew up with, whatever, whoever it is, that I've dealt with, judgment from. And I knew when
Right.
I started doing what I was doing, I was like, I know people are going to judge me. And I was so scared of it. But then I would hear little things or little comments from people, and even
Mhm.
people that I considered friends. And it's like, okay, I am being judged for what I'm doing, but it helps you filter out the people in your life, in
Right.
your
Of
circle, that
course.
are really for you. Because I think a lot of times when people are judgmental about things that we're doing that are outside the box, a lot of it comes from their own, lack of courage, because maybe
Yes.
they have a dream that they want to do and they haven't done it because they're scared. So when they see someone else doing it, it's like, oh no, she's weird, she's whatever. And it's only
Exactly.
coming from a place of, I don't have the guts to do it, so I'm going to be judgmental.
Exactly. That is such, I'm so glad you said that because definitely encountered that as well. Like I had someone say, I've probably gotten this a couple times, but when are you going to get a real job is the question I've gotten.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and it's just, you just kind of have to brush it off. And I talked to one of my friends who actually owns her own like videography company. And she was like, you know what, whenever those comments happen or whenever you get stuff like that, just turn it into gratitude and be like, you know what, like you said, they're just upset with themselves probably that they're not doing
Mm-hmm.
something they're passionate about, and just be like, what, you know what, I'm so thankful for what I am doing, and remembering, kind of where you are. And I look back at my life like 6 months ago when I was in an office, working 7 to 4, and I wasn't happy. And it's funny because now I have the freedom, like, to, if I want to go get lunch with a friend at 12 o'clock, I can, because I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to come back and finish doing what I need to do. And so you
Mm-hmm.
just have to like remind yourself it's okay if I get those comments, because look, I have freedom. I'm so much happier, even financially wise, like
Mm-hmm.
being way, way above where I thought I would be in terms of that. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just kind of like you have to choose what's best for yourself and kind of, like you said, filter out those people in your life who are going to say those kind of things to you. So,
Oh, for sure. And I think it's really important too that sometimes when you start something, you don't really know, like you said, you had never done TED, you've never done any of
right,
this. And so you didn't really have a set goal of like, I want to earn this. I mean, maybe you have like a ballpark idea of like, okay, I
right,
need this to survive. But
right,
sometimes, we'll show up with just a little bit of effort or a little bit of intention, and then just what can really come from hard work and from just being
right,
determined. But you don't always have to know every single step you're going to take. And so that's kind of
exactly,
my next question for you is you had never, so we're obviously in two different, very different businesses. So
right,
it was the same for me. I didn't know when I started. I had no idea
right,
how to do anything online, how to sell anything. I
right,
didn't even know how the website worked. How do I make a sale? How do I get my money? I had nothing. Like I didn't
yeah,
know. And so I kind of want to hear from you. What was kind of your first step? So you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to order this stuff. You
mhm,
had to teach yourself how to figure out the website. You had to teach
right,
yourself how to make a brand. You made a new Instagram.
yeah,
Kind of what was going through your mind, and kind of what was the first thing you did, and how did you kind of get your mind to be like, okay, we're going to do this. We're really going to do it.
right, yeah. And that's like the scariest part. And I always am like, ugh, the starting part is really hard. It honestly is. And I was like lucky enough that I'd like saved up enough money that I could invest in like, buying different items to try and practice with. But yeah, it was just really hard. And it's a lot of like YouTube. Honestly, YouTube is huge. Like if anyone wants to start anything, you just go there. um, and obviously like Instagram is, we use it all the time. And so, but it's so different than when it's for yourself, when it's for a business, it's a whole new ballpark. And actually that's probably the area that I need to work on the most is social media and promoting myself better on that. But I think it's just like, just like starting somewhere and figuring out, okay, what's my strength, and like then going from there kind of. And also like what is a priority, like I have to have supplies, or I have to do this first. So kind of just like figuring out a starting point and then going from there and just taking one step at a time. And even like you said, like you don't know if it's gonna be successful or not, and I think it's all about pivoting. So if you try something and it doesn't work, try something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard work. I mean, I know you understand that a lot, but you just got to keep going and try something else if that doesn't work. So
Yeah, I love that. I think It's really interesting that you said you kind of have to find your strength and then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
And first of all, yeah, YouTube, everything
Yes.
is the way to go. But I think it is interesting. You said you find your strength and go from there, and then just find different ways that you can grow. And I think that
Right.
that is a scary thing for a lot of people that want to start their own, side hustle or main hustle or whatever it is, and kind of get out of the box, because when you're in a job, you have a description and you have a
Right.
task and you're given a project and then you're shown how to do it. But when
Mhm.
you are doing something for yourself, you can go and find the answers, obviously, like you
Right.
said, but no one's there telling you. And I think that that's a huge part of it. No
Mhm.
one's there telling you, be here at this time, do this at this
Right.
time, and then this is the next step you're going to take. Oh, and how do you do that? Oh, let me show you. No one's doing
Right.
that. It's you. It's you. You're
Right.
everything. You're the boss. You're the worker.
Exactly.
You're the everything. And I think that holds a lot of people back from starting, their own whatever, because there's this lack of knowledge. We get so comfortable in being told what to do all the time.
Right.
And so for those people that want to kind of try something, but they're scared to not know how to do it, do you have any specific advice besides, obviously they can go to YouTubing is the way.
Right.
Besides that,
Right.
I'm going to list that as number one, because that's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, even when you're saying you have a job, you have a task, like when you're in, a typical corporate environment or whatever it might be. And I think when I was in my corporate job, I found like that was the most difficult part for me, is that I was like, I don't have any freedom to, if I think this is a good idea, well, that's not how we do it. And so I think that you just kind of have to see like, okay, what is something I'm interested in, or what's something I think that could be successful. Like we talked about, YouTube is great, but then also just like trial and error, talking to people around you. Books are helpful. I feel like they're people like forget about books. But I think I think you just have to go for it. You know what I mean? I think that's my biggest piece of advice, is even though you're scared, I'm still scared, because I'm like, I don't know what 6 months from now holds, but you just have to like take one step at a time and just go for it, because the only thing that's holding you back is yourself.
For sure. And so what's interesting, another thing is, so I started my business as a hobby, just because I was young. I was like 18.
Right.
I fell in love with health and fitness. And so I was really passionate about it. I had no passion for building a business. I didn't really know what that meant or what that looked like, but I knew I loved health and fitness and I wanted to help other people. So for you, you had never made clothes and you never studied fashion. Was that something you were always interested in, or was it more so just like, I need to figure out something that's going to work? What can I sell? So what was kind of the passion behind, or is there one specifically behind clothes, or is it more just overall having your own hustle going on?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I've always been like I love fashion. I love clothes. I love like feeling confident in what I'm wearing. And so I think that part of it. And then also I think just the creativity aspect that comes with, making clothes in general, and then also having your own business. So I think it's a little bit of both. And it's like, are clothes my biggest passion in the world? No, but I think that finding something also that could lead to another one of your passions. And so for me, like, I'm passionate about like helping others. And so eventually I hope that I can, whether it's have like an attached nonprofit or something that will help other like young girls, young women start something on their own, so that they can be successful and creative and business owners or whatever it may be. Because I think it's not, you don't always have to be like, okay, I'm obsessed with this one thing that I might start and do it, but because it just leads to something else, I think, in the long run, if you keep working at it.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part about, like you said, in your other job that you worked, your 9 to 5, you didn't have the opportunity to have, I don't like that this is going this way. I think we should do this, but you can't, because you're
because you don't want to get fired.
For sure. And so now you have that opportunity to say, oh, this isn't working. Let's try this, or this is working, but I have this new idea. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I think it could be better. And I think that's a huge thing for me too, is because in any role, I've never really actually had a 9 to 5 job. Like in high school, I was a nanny. And then in college, I started this business and I worked for a marketing company. And so it wasn't really a 9 to 5 where you go into an office and you're told. So I guess my internship, I was still able to be a bit creative. So I've never had something that's specifically like, if you don't do it this way, you're fired. And so I guess the sales job would have been my first shot at that. And I didn't But I think that's a huge thing for me is when you are a natural, thinker and you want to be creative.
Right.
And even if you always told yourself you were never creative, it turns out that you were, because
Exactly.
wanting to solve things in a different way makes you creative. It doesn't mean you have
Right.
to draw or paint maybe, but
Exactly.
you were, you really did have that quality about yourself. And
Mhm.
so this gives you another way to really just, use that trait and that
Right.
skill that God gave you. And I think that that's really cool that as a business owner, you've been able to learn so much, not only about
Right.
business and that you can figure it out and growing your strength, whatever, but to learn more about yourself. I think that's one of the most
Yeah, that's such a good
great
point.
parts about business.
That is such a good point. Like you said, like we think creativity is like, oh, drawing or painting or whatever, but like you said, it's more about like, no, I want to solve something, or I want to do something a new way, or um, I just want to, even creativity is like freedom. Like I want to be free.
Mhm.
And that's something that like, I know you completely understand this, but it's just nice that you don't have someone telling you what to do. And I was even able to work from the beach for the past month. And like, that's like such a gift that, I don't have to drive. Also, I commuted with my last job. I had to drive 45 minutes in the
Mhm.
morning and the afternoon. And just like being able to wake up and, okay, I'm going to work from here. And so there's just so much that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that now that you've started this business, and do you have a dream kind of to grow it to, what kind of point are you going to grow it to? Or once COVID is kind of done, do you still have the dream of, I want to do, my flight attendant thing, but I want to
Right.
keep this up? Has this shifted your goals or changed your goals at all from what they were?
Yeah. So I, that's a question I actually get asked a lot. And right now I'm like, I'm just enjoying where I'm at. And definitely want to like be mindful of the future and planning for the future. Um, but it's also like, I think if anything, I've learned from this pandemic and this business, like you don't know what tomorrow holds. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's important to like be thinking about the future, but also being where you're at. And right now I'm really enjoying where I'm at and doing what I'm doing. And if an opportunity were to come in the future, I think might look into that. But I swear I tell all my friends now, I'm like, find something and start a business, because like it is literally the best thing in the world. And or find a side hustle or whatever it is. Allow yourself to be creative and have that space where you can
Mm-hmm.
make something for yourself.
Yeah.
Because like I don't my mom's like, I don't think you could ever go back to like a 9 to 5 job. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I could.
Yeah.
But it's also cool because we are so young and there's so many different things. I think gone are the days where you work the same job for 30 or 40 years, especially people in our generation. And
Yeah.
I think that's great. It's like, try different. Life is so short. Like, why don't you try different things and
Yeah.
um switch it up? Because like, you want to look back at your life and be like, oh, I tried this, I went there, I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's all about like planning for yourself and figuring out what works for yourself, but also like taking any opportunity to pivot and any opportunity you can to grow.
I love that. I think that's so true. And I think, like you said, for our generation, it's not that common that people get a job and stick with it. But I think that
Right.
that's kind of what we're taught, kind of in school.
Exactly.
And like, are you applying for jobs and whatever? So actually, in senior year, for the first part of senior year or second semester, I was living at home. So I
Right.
wasn't doing all the career stuff and all of that because I was just dealing with other things. And so all the time, the constant question of like, do you have a job yet? Have you applied? Have you done
Right.
this? Have you done that? And it's like, no, I actually haven't. And so coming out of
Yeah.
school, it's almost nerve wracking. But then I met a lot of other people that were, around our same age that did have these incredible majors, this incredible plan. And then all of a sudden they graduate with this degree and they're like, I don't want to do this. I don't know what I
Right.
did. I don't want to do it. And then they end up working like at a store, like,
Right.
and no shame. You have to make it work with what you can until you figure it
Right.
out. But I think that's what's so crazy is people will study this thing for so long and they think that's what they
Right.
want and they prepare their whole life and then they end up doing something totally different.
Right. And I think there's a lot of freedom in that too, like being like, okay, I don't have to, like, for me, like I'm like, I don't have to be a teacher right now if I don't want to. And I felt like guilt and shame for that, because I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I do have this desire to like help children and be this and be that. But then it's like, you also have to think about yourself. And like I said, life is so short. Do I really want to be doing something every day that I'm not passionate about right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a really really good point. And
Yeah.
then there is like, sorry,
No, you go
I
ahead.
should say, there is like, going off what you said of people study something and you just think that you have to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
in reality, it's like, no, you can do something different and you can
Mm-hmm.
go another way.
Yeah. And I think too, there's just so many more opportunities than you really think about
Exactly.
when you're in school. There's so many other things, like you wouldn't, have
Right.
had this idea probably a few years ago to be like, oh, I want to do
Exactly.
this. I want to start an online business. And
Hmm.
we're not really taught that. We're kind of taught, okay, this is what you choose from, pick one,
Exactly.
and then go
And
to
it's like
college for
8 things,
4 years.
and you're like, wait, I don't know if I want to do any of these.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
It's what's so crazy. And I think too, just with our generation, like we do have this blessing of things are changing and changing
Right.
so much and so often. And you've been able to have your whole store online, which is so
Right.
cool.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you have a dream of, ever being in stores or doing anything like
Right.
that, which is really, really an exciting thing to think about. But that's what's cool about having your own thing is you get to choose. No one's telling you.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it is like you were saying, there's so many more opportunities out there than we think. And especially like obviously with the internet and stuff, it can be difficult sometimes, but in a lot of ways it is a gift because, having an online store, I'm able to work from home and do all these different things. And I don't have to worry about going to a store, or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in a lot of ways, like there are a ton of new opportunities that are going to come for people to find something and do something different than
Yeah.
kind of what they thought they might want to do.
Yeah, for sure. So I think just with all of that being said, is there a certain piece of advice or a few different things that you would
Yeah.
say if one of your friends came to you and was like, I think that I want to start something, but I have no idea where to begin. And I have a few different things I'm interested in, but I'm not really sure. Like, what do you wish someone would have told you? Or what did you tell yourself? Or what would you
Yeah.
say to that friend?
I think if you have some ideas, I would just start writing things out about each one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is something really great about this one, or what's something not really great about this idea? And then once you kind of figure it out, I would say just go for it. And then what I wish I would have told myself is you are going to mess so many more times before you get it right, and that's okay. And just keep going, keep trying, because even now I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? Or why did I not do that? And so being okay with messing up is huge, especially like for me, like I'm really hard on myself sometimes. And so just like reminding yourself like, hey, you're doing great, like keep going. And then also I think that goes back to like having people around you who are going to encourage you to just be your best self, and also like not be too hard on yourself. And also like you never know what's around the corner. And like I feel like I'm broken record saying this, but life's too short to do something that, or be working somewhere every day. Obviously you need to pay the bills and do that, but like there's so many opportunities out there, and just like find something and go for it if you like, because you don't want to wake up every day miserable and keep
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing. And it's so scary to change it. I mean, even like when I quit my job to go be a flight attendant, I was so scared, and I knew that's something I wanted to do. But I think you just gotta go for it, and just fears real. It's gonna happen, but just try to try to remind yourself of where you're going. And I think it's so important to like speak out what do I want to be, or like what does happiness look like for me. And whether it's like having a dream board, or like slowly working towards something, like if you have to have a job to pay the bills, trying your best to have a side hustle or whatever it may be, so that you can get to where you want to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's also so helpful. And I think too, you said that you're going to mess up. You're going to mess up. And I think
Yes.
sometimes, at least in my own experience, and not just with my business, but with anything that I try to do that's new, because I like to, even with this podcast, like this
Right.
was something brand new that I did, and I had no idea what I was doing. And
Yeah.
I kept putting it off. I kept saying,
Right.
okay, well, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to wait until I have this amount of time free, or
Right.
I'm going to do it, but I feel like I need to research this, or I'm going to do it,
Hmm.
but this. And I was finally told myself, I was like, you are going to do this, because
Right.
you keep putting it off and you're going to find every excuse not to do it.
Exactly.
And allowing myself to be bad and to fail in the right direction. Because even if you
Yes.
go, just a little step in the right direction, it's better than not at all. And
Yeah.
we get ourselves so hung up on, if I can't get it perfect, I'm not going to do it. Or if
Hmm.
I'm not going to make $1,000 in the first month, I'm not going to do
Right.
it. But that's not how life works.
Exactly. That I love that point. Like just coming up with every excuse in the book. And also like I know we talked about this before as well, but you see on Instagram, oh, this person started this and they look like everything's doing great, or what, and I could never get there in 2 months, or whatever it may be, or I can never make $1,000 in a month. Like you said, Instagram is just a highlight. And I'm not posting about the time that I stayed up all night bawling because I ended up not having this ready and I needed it to go out, or whatever it may be. And so I think it's important to know you're going to mess up, but also other people messing up on Instagram. And so just knowing that, like, what you see is not always, the reality of things as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's so true. Is Instagram is such a highlight reel, and people are not always posting the hard parts that go into making a business, because it is great to have ownership and to be doing what you want to do. But there are going to be times where it's like, oh my gosh, this is tough and I can't figure this out and I have no idea what I'm doing. And oh my gosh, I just got this email about this issue that I've never dealt with and I have no idea what this means. And I feel like I'm not qualified to take care of this or do this. And that does happen when you have a business, and that just comes with it. And you have to, but that's part of the beauty of it. It's getting to grow in those areas where it's like, after the problem's taken care of, whether it's resolved to the way you wanted it or it's not, it's like, oh my gosh, look what I dealt with. And, this is my business. Like, I don't go report to anyone when this happens.
Exactly. And also, I think for me, the biggest thing I found is just be honest with other people as well. I'll be like, look, I'm so sorry. I've messed up. I just started this, or I'm still trying to figure this out. Like, and people, I've been really blessed with how nice people have been, because like, we're all going to mess up when we're, even 10 years from now, I'm still going to be messing up. And so just tell people where you're at and let them in, because like, we're all human. We all make mistakes. And so I think just like comes with that as well.
For sure. For sure. So obviously you're super happy that you started this and you're absolutely loving it. And the clothes are so comfy. I wore them and I was like, I put them on to do pictures in them, because when I work from home, I literally wear pajamas. Like I work out, I take off pajamas, put on workout clothes, shower, pajamas again. And so I took those clothes out to put them on. And after I was like, I don't want to take them off. I love them. So I was super happy. So I really, really appreciated that. And so where can people find your page? Where can you tell us like where they can go, where they can order, just because I know people are going to be hurrying to check out what you have.
Thank you. So my Instagram is Allie D Dye. So ALLIED, and then dye like tie dye, DYES. And then same exact thing on Etsy. And then also on my Instagram, there's a link to my Etsy in my bio. And that's where you can find me.
Yeah. So do you do anything custom, or do you mostly just like make things and then you post them? So what can people expect with that?
Yeah. So basically with like all the sets and sweatshirts and shirts, there's all different colors. And then also if you message me, I've done a lot of different like custom sets or shirts or whatever it might be. And I'll do my best to make anything happen that anyone would like.
I love it. And that's super exciting. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and for being here. It was so much fun. And I know that this is going to be so helpful for so many people that are interested in starting something of their own.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.